So we are beginning notes 10.3b, which is the second half. 10.3a was solving or talking about geometric sequences, and 10.3b is dealing with the series where you actually add up all the numbers on that geometric sequence. Let's begin with this class opener here, and on number 1 we need to determine if it's arithmetic or geometric. Okay, so if it's arithmetic, we're going to have a common difference. If it's geometric, common ratio. And figuring those out, you pick a number and do something with the previous number. If you're looking for a common difference, 6 take away -2, that'll give you 8. But if you go -2 take away 2/3, that will not give you 8. So there's definitely no common difference, which means it cannot be arithmetic. Let's see if it's geometric. How could you do that? You pick a number and you divide it by the previous number. So when you think about this, your R is 6 divided by -2, which equals -3. And maybe that's your common ratio. It has to be common throughout. So if you do 2 divided by 2/3, -2 divided by 2/3, that's the same thing as saying -2 times the reciprocal of 2/3, which is 3/2. And of course, the 2 and the 2 would cancel, leaving you a -3, which is the same thing as the other ratio that we found. And if you did this one divided by this one, let me do this one in green. 2/3 divided by -2/9. 2/3, instead of divided by, let's do the multiplication of the reciprocal of -2/9, which would be -9/2. And yes, the 2's would cancel, and the -9 divided by 3 would also give you a -3. So number 1, there is a common ratio of -3, which means that number 1 is geometric. Okay, there's your answer, number 1. It's geometric. I wrote on the -2, sorry about that. Let's do number 2. Is number 2 geometric, is it arithmetic, or neither? So if you do 3 divided by -1/2, thinking of if it's geometric, 3 divided by -1/2, that'll actually be 3 times the reciprocal of this, which would be -2. 3 times 2 is 6. And if you go -1/2 times -4, it does not give you 6. So it's definitely not geometric. So you need to see if there's a common difference. So how could you tell if there's a common difference? Well, you pick a number and you subtract the previous one from it. 6.5 take away 3, that's really 3.5. It looks like our common difference is 3.5. Let's see if it's true throughout. If I do 3 take away a -1/2, 3 take away a -1/2, that's really 3 plus half, which gives you 3.5, which is 3.5. If you go -1/2 minus a -4, -1/2 minus a -4, it's really -1/2 plus 4. -1/2 plus 4 is really positive 3.5, which is 3.5. So number 2, there is a common difference of 3.5, which means that number 2 is arithmetic. Okay, so the first one's geometric, the second one's arithmetic. We're done. Moving on to number 3. Find the 8th term on number 1. Well, how are we going to find the 8th term on this one? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a sub 1, this is a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub 4. They want a sub 8. Okay, they want a sub 8. So the best way to, what I would do to find any number that you want, in this case a sub 8, I would find the a sub nth rule for this geometric sequence. So hopefully we have this memorized. The a sub nth rule for a geometric sequence is a sub n equals, you always begin with a sub 1, the first number on your list. But since on a geometric sequence you're multiplying, right here from -2 to get to 6, you multiply by 3. You multiply by that common ratio. From here to here, you multiply by the common ratio -3. So since on geometric sequences we are multiplying, you're going to need a multiplication of that common ratio r to the power of n-1. I hope we memorize that. You need to know that. So let's plug in what we have. A sub n will equal a sub 1, which we could clearly see a sub 1 is -2/9, the first number on our list, times r. And what is r? R is -3 to the power of n-1. That's the a sub nth rule. This is the machine that produces that list. Believe it or not, if I were to plug in the number 1 right here, it will give us the first term on the list. If I plug in the number 3 right here, it'll give us the third term on the list. So if you're confused and you wanted to just test it out, like if you're not too sure that you did this right, go ahead and plug in the number, let's say 1, 2, 3. Plug in the number 3 and let's see if it gives you that third number, which is the answer, -2. Plug in 3 right there. 3 minus 1 is 2. -3 squared is +9. The +9 cancels with that 9. You'll have a -2 left over. And as you can see, that's the correct answer right there for the third term. Or you could plug in the number 1 and see if it gives you that first number. Yeah, plug in 1. 1 take away 1, 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 1 times -2/9 is that first number, -2/9. So as you can see, this is the correct a sub nth rule. This is the machine that produces that list, right? If you want the first number, plug in a 1, work it out. It'll give you that number. If you want the second number, plug in a 2, work it out. It'll give you the second number. If you want the 8th number, what are you going to do? You're going to plug in an 8. Okay, and maybe I should do the 8 in red so you guys sort of really stand out right there that we're plugging in 8 instead of n. So we are plugging in 8. So you really have -2/9 times common ratio -3. And we're plugging in the 8 in place of the n. And of course it says -1. So the math that we need to do with the calculator, easiest, it would be the -3 in parentheses to the power of 7 and then multiply it by -2/9. And that will give you the 8th term on the list. So let's do that. So -3 to the 7th power is 2,187, -2,187. So let's rewrite this thing up here. We have -2/9 times, and of course I did this with the calculator, -2,187. So let's now divide this by 9, see if that works. On a calculator, they'll tell us that that's 243. So this cancels with that, and you get 243, and it is negative, right? So you have a -243. So what we really have here is -2 times -243. The answer would be 486. So our 8th term, our a sub 8, is 486. So we did a lot of things on this opener right here on number 3. It says find the 8th term of this geometric sequence. We found the a sub nth rule, which produces the entire list. And using this rule, you could find any number you want. You want to find the 8th number? Plug in 8 the way we did, work it out. It gives you the 8th number on the list. And that makes total sense because this is growing exponentially. Anyway, let's look at number 4. It says find the 18th term on number 2. Okay, so for the 18th term on number 2, we need to first recognize that it is arithmetic. So let's write down the a sub nth rule that actually produces this list right here. So hopefully remember, for the a sub nth rule, you write a sub n equals, you always begin with a sub 1, the first number on your list. Now because it's arithmetic, you're going to be adding a number. It might be positive, it might be negative, but you're going to be adding that common difference d. So that's why we put a plus. And then you have the parentheses, and then you have n minus 1, and then times that common difference d. I hope you remember this. You need to have this memorized. Okay, so let's plug in what we know about number 2. We have a sub n equals a sub 1, which is -4, plus parenthesis n minus 1 times that common difference d, which as you could see up here on number 2, we said the common difference d was 3.5. So we're going to be multiplying by 3.5. Sorry about that. So this is kind of ugly because we have a decimal, but that's okay. Let's distribute. Let's simplify it. 3.5 times n is 3.5n. 3.5 times -1 is -3.5. We do have a plus -4, and we do have the equals a sub n. So the a sub nth rule will be, when we combine -4 with -3.5, that'll be a -7.5. So our actual a sub nth rule is the 3.5n minus 7.5. That's your a sub nth rule for the arithmetic sequence up here on number 2. Now, if they're asking for the 18th number, this machine produces that entire list. If you wanted to plug in the number 1, it'll give you that first answer, -4. If you wanted to plug in the number 3, it'll give you that third number, 3. If you plug in the number 2, it'll give you the second number, -0.5. So whatever number you want, a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, all you have to do is plug it into that n, and it'll give you that valued number, right? So a sub 17, plug in 17, it'll give you the 17th number on the list. But we don't want 17. It says find the 18th number on the list. So we will be finding a sub 18. So that's going to be 3.5 times 18 minus 7.5. Let's use a calculator. The answer is 63 for 3.5 times 18. And we're going to be subtracting 7.5 from that. The answer there would be 55.5. So a sub 18, the 18th number would be 55.5. There's your answer for that one. And that's a class opener. That's reviewing everything that we've learned so far here in Chapter 10. Of course, we still could cover summations, and we'll do that on the actual lesson for today. This was just a class opener video.